Today, I'll walk you through what's going on in my mind in a Mists plus 20 pack run, covering why I did what I did and how I did it. We're also making sure we look at the mistakes I've made to ensure you avoid doing them in your next run, so you can improve and climb the ranks way ahead of everyone else. With that being said, let's start the run. So, at the start of the dungeon, I decided not to open the gate. Why? Is because I see we have a boomkin and a mage, which are all night fae, therefore I can use that time to prepare my scenario on Ward, Solve the Forest and so on, so I can spend those global cooldowns on DPSing. I see with that, what we decided to do is split the pool and save the last for the boss. In the end it wasn't so wise, but I made a mistake that I used offensive convoke, which I didn't expect everyone to drop so low, so I probably should have saved and used defensive instead. And I think we lose Shaman because of it. But then again, just Vow Growth and slowly recover from the Grievous. We even popped Cheat Death. I'm not sure why he didn't use Fell Death, the tank, but it was just overall mess run. Anyways, then just helping. I'm not running Mass Entanglement because in this dungeon, the Mass route, there's like no big pools where you need to CC the Shades. An example where I almost always take Mass Entanglement is like in Plaguefall. Then, again, it's a fully pack run, so I have to expect to do more healing than I would like to. So, using Solve the Forest and putting it on the tank, then I always dispel the tank when he gets 2 stacks of Soul Split. You need to track that because each stack increases his damage taken by 20%. When I see his further station and out, I instantly use Iron Bark. I'm not too sure, to be honest, why he's not using meta. He definitely should use meta on this pool, as on the next pool he should have further devastation back. Especially because he didn't use further devastation on the first pool. You see this damage is getting kind of ridiculous. This boomkin died pretty much even though I was spamming him. And even through Iron Bark. Again, tank gets 2 stacks of the debuff, I dispel him. And then help DPSing. But the amount of damage this 3 does is absolutely like out of this world. Again, back to DPSing, putting my dots, make sure to dodge the frontal, and then slowly put hots on the tank to make sure he doesn't die. And then again, don't have to panic too much with the Grievous thing. Once we kill the big 3, it's pretty much free, so I just make sure the tank doesn't die or procs anything else, and I finish it off with some DPSing, I think. Yeah. Again, this is a normal skip you do in like almost every key, I'm sure, where you just CC this guy and then put this next pack. This next pack was super messy, and there is not, like, this is a good example where sometimes you do your best and it's still not enough, and that is just a tank's fault, where like you literally can heal your ass off, but it still doesn't matter. Again, uses, in the end the tank still used meta on the last pool, so he doesn't have it for this one. And from experience, I know that if I use Convoke on this pool, I'm going to have it back for the boss, so I use Offensive Convoke to help get the pack down faster. And then again, see nobody is interrupting this, so I end up Typhooning and start layering hots on people to make sure, because I'm kind of expecting some Spirit Bolt to go through, but in the end, there was just so many Spirit Bolts that went through, especially because you can see now the tank is just running away. And these harvesters are free casting on everyone, and they killed like 5 of us in the end. Again, you can see I'm still DPSing, I'm not worried about healing anyone, as in the end it was a mistake because like nobody was interrupting and the tank just kited away from me to take a mushroom. Like, you can see that, and yeah, just dying to the cast of the Spirit Bolt. Here I did a big mistake. I definitely should have released because I wasted a lot of time. So instead what I should have done is release and run, and I would have been back like 10 seconds earlier. And so to make this pool less messy, what I could have done better is definitely not DPSing, as I saw when the tank started inting. I should have completely switched off any DPS mode I had, and then just pure healing to try and out heal the Spirit Bots, and possibly try to CC the Dust Harvester with Typhoons and stuff like that, or just ask in chat to have the people interrupted. By this time I could have already released and been long way back, but didn't, so I'm just waiting for the rest of the Druid. You can see, yeah, I even type that it was my bad that I didn't release. So normally, like, definitely looking back at it now, my big mistake what I did was I should have focused way more on DPS, on healing, because basically from the first pull you can usually judge if a tank is good or bad, like ever since the first pull of the dungeon in most cases. But I misjudged that, for just wanted to give him the benefit of the doubt, and I paid for that. Then as I see these two are getting low, I start preparing my hots on everyone, and just treating it like the pride is coming. So just putting red juice on everyone. And these black things, if you move before it's finished casting, here I couldn't do anything, like they just triggered 2 of them at once, and I just wasn't prepared for that. That was my bad, to be fair. I think what I should have done when I saw they're killing both of them at the same time, I should have used my Soulating Ruby and just prepare everyone, hot everyone, and use Convoke just like exactly when they started hitting everyone. And then this caused me to kind of have my Convoke and Ruby of like kind of weird because I panicked, convoked. But in the end only one person died, and the mage could have also used out time or mirror images. But like in the end, don't get me wrong, this definitely could have been prevented if I was paying more attention to what was actually happening. As I see the mage makes it through, I was kind of confused where he is, but then noticed he's there. And so Pride is coming. This week, Prides and Grievous are not fun. It's really not fun. And because I see the mage is probably going to combust it, so I help DPS a bit at the start, but almost immediately switch to full healing mode, because DPSing a Pride is almost always good if you don't think you will fall behind, but with Grievous it's so easy to fall behind, you basically are just forced to start healing from second one. And you also have to treat Prides at harder, like plus 23s like this, that you can't afford to DPS at all. Again, using all of my Sword of the Forest procs, and then I use Flourish. It's not super needed, but I see that the Pride is about to die, so why not use it, as I'll have it for when the boss casts his shield and the healing is needed. Luckily, my Convoke is going to come off cooldown in 20 seconds, so I'm still have the Soulating Ruby Convoke combo. On this boss, I'm going to talk most about DPSing, as this was a weird situation because I ended up with Solar Eclipse at the start of the boss, and you almost never want that, because you want to make sure, if you play Boomkin you know this as well, but you want to make sure you have Solar Eclipse for the transition. So I try to get out of Solar Eclipse as soon as possible, and then rotate into Lunar Eclipse, just cast spells to get out of it. And just keeping up, we see the fear. I see that Droman is at 30%, so I get quickly fast to him and try to Ruby him at like 20%. I think I even failed. Yep, I failed. So that's a lot of miscrit, but again you see I'm first getting into Solar Eclipse and then using Convoke and my potion. Actually I didn't even use potion, that was my bad. But yeah, if I play this fight correctly and use my Berserking and use my Intellect potion and use the Trinket on Droman, I could have done much more DPS and we probably would have one-phased it even faster, instead of it taking it so long. And like the Shaman was also doing some joke DPS. But don't focus on what you can't influence, it's just something to bring up, that to actually prove that in hierarchies it doesn't get that much better if you are still pugging. Like yes, those groups are generally better by standard, but it's not always the case. Again, I don't panic on healing the Shaman, I just drop, I think like I end dropping just a single Rejuve on him and just bark the tank and top him up. Yeah, like I'm not panicking too much about the Shaman, as I know we're soon going to pull it. Since 9.0.5 they fixed the pull through the wall, so I haven't done it yet, but I was trying to like pull it through the wall, and you can do it with like slow fall and if you do some need vow charge, but I tried it twice, failed both times, and it was just didn't work out. That's why I like said scratch it and didn't do it. This pull, there's nothing to heal, so I just put some dots on the tank and do the mace, because I was trying to do the pull, I wasn't paying attention to where we need to go, so I make sure we actually go front, even the like tank said it, but I just wanted to make sure, because you should never trust pucks. Like when you can do something yourself, do it yourself. That's the general rule I think you should live by when doing packs. Like, almost never let anyone else do anything if you know you can do it. So just DPSing, there's 0 AoE damage incoming, as it's only those two guys and they cast Spear for it. So I just help DPS them. And then, because they die at the same time, it's really good on Spiteful, because we can actually open the maze right away, because we are not in combat, as the Spitefuls take like 1 or 2 seconds to get into combat from the moment when they spawn. Again, I use all my cooldowns. I'm paying attention to the casts that are happening, and if I see that the important casts are going through, that means Nourish the Forest. That's a big heal on pretty much everyone in the group except the Tender, or the Bramblethorn Code, which if goes through can be super nasty because it puts a shield on the target, and if you break the shield everyone gets looted. I'm sure this has happened at least a few times in your packs, and I think it happens even a few times in this pack. And it's almost always an instant wipe because number 1, the roots do insane damage, and number 2, almost all these packs have some sort of like area of effect attack, like the spears or the like stampeding around them. So you usually end up, luckily you see exact reason. If you rewind a bit back, you saw that the DH was going into the wrong room, which I just made sure to never let it happen, and never trust a pack. It's just avoid it. Please don't trust packs. Like, you should. It's kind of weird, but just don't give them the benefit of the doubt, because you know from experience how your past packs went. Especially as a hero where nobody uses any defensives. Again, now I also using a maze add-on. You can see on the right of the screen that after I do like 2 or 3 like maze guesses kind of, it tells me sometimes where exactly do we need to go. You can see Shaman dying pretty much instantly. I even look at his deathlog. He died like in 1 second just from the spear. Now, what I said earlier, if you are in combat with the Shades, you can't enter the maze, which can take like 10 seconds, and if it takes 10 seconds per every single entrance of the maze, it can quite fast stack up. I see that we have Pride, so I think I saved my Convoke, but I'm not sure, as it was quite, this replay is like 1 or 2 days old. Again, yep, I'm pretty sure the shield went through on the, no it didn't, but it went on the next one. When this anima injection happens, always dispel the person, because it's a dot, and after the 5 seconds, it pretty much insta-kills you if you don't dispel it. So you want to make sure you prioritize dispelling that. So yeah, I do Vortex on the second Vortex, and now you can see I try to interrupt the Bramblethorn Code through the Typhoon. I managed to do it, but I'm not sure how we actually didn't proc it, which was kind of lucky. But yeah, this was greedy for me. I used offensive Convoke with all my cooldowns with Heart of the Wild, which I thought it would kill the Pride soon enough, but we definitely did not, and we ended up losing 2 people because I was just greedy with my Convoke. So in general, this week, especially if you are not pushing like very high keys, I would recommend to almost always use defensive Convoke on the Prides. Here I even have to cancel my Tranquility because I was scared I was going to get hit, as again, I don't trust packs. But yeah, as I said, we ended up losing 2 people, including myself, to this, because I was just greedy with my Convoke. So we get this, I quickly glance at the maze. I see it's the 14, so if you look at the map in top right, I know that it's the one that the tank is facing right now. So I immediately go and open it, and I see that, because I see that my Druid is still resting the Shaman, I know that I can like drink or just use the Pride and open the maze and prepare for the mini-boss. This mini-boss, there's pretty much 0 tank damage, so just put some Rejuve Life Bloom on him, just to avoid the melees, but spend every single second on just DPSing. This is a good place where you can even go like... This is a good place where you can go into Moodkin form and just pop all your cooldowns if you have anything. So Convoke any trinkets and stuff like that. It's perfect like case where you can DPS at basically no cost. As if somebody fails this, I just don't know what to tell you. Like, it's just not failable, especially this mini boss. Like, it does nothing. Again, look at my glance. I see it's 20, so I go and follow the add-on, as I know, like from past experience, it always worked. Only time when it doesn't work is in the maze. If you go front at start, you can follow the boss where she's going on the map if you pay attention. But if she goes front, she's kind of weird with it. And like, if she goes front, don't follow her like ever, because she's just playing some prank on you. Again, I greed my convoke a bit, but I still managed to dispel the mage in time. And then try to top people a bit before the next, so I don't get overwhelmed with Grievous. Use my, you can see the cloak went off. That was my bad. I should have typhooned it, but it went off, and you can see like the damage it does is pretty insane. I tried to dispel the Moonkin as he was in the frontal, but sadly didn't save him. I don't know why he combated him. Actually, was it me who combated him? I guess it was me. So yeah, I don't know why I combated him. If it was me, he definitely should have just released and ran, because you usually want to save combat assist for like bosses or some harder trash pools if you are like deeper from the respawn point. Again, Tank saying again it's boss, but we know it's not boss. We have the add-on, we are smart, so we go into the 19, and then I think it's the boss. I even check. Yeah. So we're going to have Pride for this. I have Foolish in 30 seconds, so it's definitely more than enough to justify using it on the maze before. Basically, with Foolish, you almost always want to have it for the Pride, and then you have to do some kind of like mental math if you're actually going to have it for the Pride if you use it now. So like right now, if I use it now, I definitely won't have it for the Pride, but it's still off cooldown. But yeah, I would just save it for the Pride. Again, just putting Effervescence down and putting some hots on the tank, and making sure he doesn't proc like cheat, as I really want to save his cheat for some bigger pools, and otherwise it's just more needed in general. One thing you can do with Spiteful is it's really easy to get a good Soul Letting Ruby proc, like at the max, like 1000 credit gifts if you use it on something that's below 30%. So again, this time I think, because we don't have Combust, I think I end up saving my Convoke defensively instead of using Heart of the Wild and all my cooldowns. But yeah, what I also did wrong was I used my Soul Letting Ruby like way too early. You almost always want to have it paired with Convoke, because if you don't, then it uses a lot of its value. And yeah, I think I end up using Convoke at the last second, just to make sure, yeah, nobody dies. And if you use Convoke, it's like almost always a full lay on hands on everyone, especially if you use it before Foolish. Also considering I'm running the Nea tree with Growth Invigoration, that when you use Convoke you get 16 stacks, which is like insane amounts of mastery. So it's almost always enough to get you through Pride. This boss is pretty straightforward. For the most part, I'm going to like quickly backtrack and talk about the talents. Talents, I use the normal one as you've seen on the start, with Cenarion Ward, Balance Affinity, and Sword of Forest. And Foolish, nothing special. And Soulbinds, I use Growth Invigoration and Nea. And the reason I use Nea is mostly for the mastery, as the healing it provides is much better than the healing the Removal provides, especially. And then on weeks, usually you want to run either Nea with herbs or Nea with like poison, even though the poison is inactive. Sometimes just having the second potency is better than having the herbs on everyone. Especially this week is one of the weeks where I want to have the potency on my Vow Growth, that means Unstoppable Growth, to make sure I get through the Prides and generally just the Grievous easier and don't have to stagger that much. This boss, you want to make sure you position yourself in a nice way to make sure you see all the signs as soon as possible. And then what I like to do is always put Effervescence down. You can see the tank is hitting the wrong mob, Like, yeah, again, just never trust packs, please just don't trust them. Again, trying to position myself into some neat way when the boss gets to around like 10%. Waiting for the boss to drop a bit and waiting for my Convoke in 5 seconds. Going to do this Vulpin and then use Ruby on the boss. And use the offensive Convoke because on Fortified this boss isn't as scary even with Grievous. So I feel I think I tried to save like all my cooldowns for like 12%. But I guess I didn't. Yeah, I didn't. So I just use Ruby and just Convoke right away. And I was just checking how much crit I had. Again, I would have recommend to always be the one to root the Fox. Because number one, you are usually the class that loses the least DPS, especially as a healer. Except like tank who can do like something like 1 GCD in prison. But that's usually your best bet to just root it. Again, I used F-Floor under the target that is the lowest HP. It was kind of awkward because the tank had to move away because of the Vulpin. But in the end, I don't panic too much with Grievous at all. I just make sure that we don't get like 4 stacks on anyone. But spend the rest of the time DPSing and topping the tank up. Yeah, used Foolish just for the memes. I should have been DPSing a lot more at the end of this. Coming into this next pool, I see we have 65%. So I'm assuming we will skip the first pool. But I think in the end... Yeah, so normally what you want to do in this situation is actually pull the first group and then do a double pull. But yeah, I think we skipped it, which in the end was really weird because it kind of messed up the pride timings and we are going to pay for it later. But I guess in the end it worked out. Again, I see this big pool. When doing big pulls, you always want to make sure you either pre-hot the tank like before the pull is happened, because if you use your hots like Life Bloom and Rejuve before he starts pulling, you don't take any healer aggro. But if you forget, just never heal the tank as he's grouping it up, because it's almost always guaranteed you're going to die. And even then, usually just like, you can see if you rewind, I stayed like 2 to 3 seconds in Invis, just to make sure he gets some aggro so he doesn't... So I just don't die to melee attacks from healer aggro. Again, we Kaidos a bit, and then I think we... Yeah, this part was really sketchy. I think we lost a lot of people here to some mechanics and pride. But yeah, let's see what happens, as I, to be fair, not sure even myself. Oh yes, I think we pulled the reverse and then we pull the next pack on top of it. I think that's what happens. Let's see. Yeah, so this was... Yeah, you can see the shaman like died almost instantly just to aggro. But like we need 3% for pride and we get 9% from this pool, so you can already guess how this pool is going to go. This is a good explanation of sometimes you can... If I played this better, I definitely could have saved everyone. I used Foolish basically just to recover from this pool, so I don't have even Foolish for the pride, which in the end, obviously, doing 20 prides without Foolish is not fun. But yeah, I just went full healing mode, trying to top everyone up, especially like kind of stabilizing before the pride. Like DPS, doing any DPS is completely out of my mind. Like at the point, I'm just focusing on making sure nobody dies before the pride. And trying to kind of stabilize. And yeah, just helping to pack the pool up with Vertex. But yeah, you can see like we still have few mobs and the pride is kind of still alive. Shaman dies almost to the shades. And then gets stunned, I think. Okay, he doesn't, I guess. But yeah, we can talk. I think I used offensive Convoke for no reason whatsoever, but I'm actually not sure. Regardless, I should have definitely Healing Convoke is definitely the play here. Again, top the tank up a bit, but yeah, you can see like I'm staggering really hard. I use Defensive Convoke. And then I kited the Shade a bit. And tried to keep some people up. But Druid doesn't use Barskin, Mage doesn't use Out of Time. Which made my life kind of a hell, but in the end it somehow worked out. And I think I did like quite some insane HPS on this Sprite. Without... Yeah, and we also... I think we had Combust. Like if we didn't have Combust it was really weird. The tank procs cheat. Like no, he doesn't. But yeah. He met us, yeah, okay. And yes, I think we have like 40 minutes. In the end, this was a very close run. I think somebody got hit by the thingy that blows you like over the platform. But yeah, I just make sure to do some reshoots on everyone. And then follow the tank to help him stabilize a bit so he doesn't get like one shot if he tries to kite like back. Which he shouldn't, but you never know what can happen. Again, not panicking too much, mostly just treating this as if there was no Grievous. So just like putting some hots on people if they have the debuff, like the poison, so on myself. And then the Druid. Again, we finish off this pack, we have 3 minutes for the last boss and then some final trash pulls. This boss on Grievous is not that bad. It mostly depends if you can burst the consumptions fast enough. Because if you get like 3 or 4 ticks, or if people get hit by the poison thing on the ground, then it can get out of hand. One thing about these green circles on the ground is they always follow where you... Basically, they work in a pattern where depending on how you dodge the last one, the next one is going to move. So you can see the current one is moved slightly to the left. And this next one is going to go completely to Africa, because I kited it a lot. Why I went to the tank is I wanted to group all the ads on the tank, so we can get easy aggro on them. And then what I usually like to do is just Vortex and then Soul Shape away. But you can see one of the circles is going to Africa right now. Everyone is stopped off, ads coming in for a second, so I know I can like DPS freely, especially with the tank having meta. I instantly look... Again, it's on me, so I stack on the tank and follow the tank like as much as possible to make sure I group the ads up and he can like take aggro off of them or just put. And yeah, this time I don't have Vortex, so I use Barskin instead to just face tank them instead of having to kite them and just taking it so much longer to die than it would need to. Again, I see the tank doesn't have cheat and doesn't have any cooldowns. This was... They were lucky, I don't know how I lived that. Like, I definitely should have paid more attention. But I think I lived with like 1 HP. So again, not even like using Tranquility at this moment. Just waiting for the next consumption if I need to use it. Dodging green circles. And yeah, just DPSing in the meantime as... Again, you basically want to look at that you don't need to panic with like the Grievous at all. You just basically treat the dungeon in the same way, but with the exception that yeah, sometimes Grievous can be a pain in the ass. Again, Vortex, and then I think I even Typhoon, as I kite these larvas a bit, as I even Barskin. The Mage outranges me a bit, so I just go in range and use Flourish, as I know I won't need it anymore, as there's no consumptions coming, as they always come at 70% and at 40%. We have 30 seconds left, so I instantly like looking to pull the larvas. It's kind of bugged because like the other mobs weren't able to be seen. But since we need only 2%, I think all we needed is to kill the larvas and then we timed the dungeon with like 15 seconds left. I don't think we deserve to time this, but yep, we managed to do it. And if you enjoy this type of videos and would want me to continue, make sure to like and subscribe, as that lets me know more than anything that you want more of this content. Cheers.